The juice is loose. Oh man, that was terrible. Why did I do that? Whatever. How else do you start this episode? How else do you start this video when we're talking about Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, the new Beetlejuice Legacy sequel? It's here. 35, 36 years in the making to get Beetlejuice back onto screens. It's happened. Tim Burton, taking a break from making Wednesday over on Netflix, made a deal with Warner Brothers to be like, I can make a Beetlejuice. Will you let me make Attack of the 50-Foot Woman after this? Guess so. So now we got a new Beetlejuice. This is a conversation we don't really have to have. I don't really think there's a reason for it. But something I just want to touch upon. Maybe now, just because we've seen a couple of them be successful this year. Like Twisters, Alien Romulus, just the idea of going back to these worlds that people like. Why do we do this? And like, when does it become an appropriate time to do it? I know why we do it. I don't know why I asked that question, because money. But why do we do it? You know, why after 36 years do we say it's the time for Beetlejuice to return? That I will never understand. Is it because of Top Gun Maverick? Is that it? It's like everyone thinks we can suddenly do a Top Gun Maverick, but we were doing it before Top Gun Maverick. I don't know. It's never going to make sense to me. They're always hit or miss. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. And surprise, surprise, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice is somewhere in the middle of those. I don't hate this movie, you know. I think in terms of like how do you put this? And like, there's no point to making this, and the fact that we are making it kind of sucks in itself. Legacy sequel blockbuster. It falls very clearly in the middle. It's not as like self-loathing and hating itself as like a Jurassic World, but it's not having as like much fun as like a Mad Max Fury Road. Somewhere in the middle is this movie that feels stupid for existing and making the references to the original film, while still having like a genuine idea of making a movie. I don't care. You know, that's how I went in. Beetlejuice is fine. That first movie's fine. I have nothing against it. It looks cool. It's a fun enough story. It feels like a wacky Tim Burton adventure. That's exciting, you know? But do I need to go back to this world and experience it all the more? Not really. I know there's a good, like, musical. There's a good cartoon. It doesn't mean anything to me, though. I'm not going to lose sleep over having this movie or not. But I do like it. I like the energy it brings, and I say this all the time. I'm going to say it again. You see something like this in theaters, and it just reminds you how little we make films like this today. This one, more than a lot of legacy sequels, I should say, really had me go, this looks like nothing I've seen in a long time. This feels like I could put it on a VHS and have this exist in my life for like 30 years. It feels like it could be the direct sequel to Beetlejuice in like the year 1991 or 1992. It feels like that movie. You could literally like change some of the plot elements, cut out some characters, and have other ones like take the place of other characters, and it would still feel like a movie that would exist on a VHS, which is kind of cool. And then just reminds you that like when you use like, you know, high definition cameras or film it for like an expensive budget with the effects and the practical uses we can have today in movies, just how cool like film is. You know, I can't believe we're having this conversation for the fucking Beetlejuice sequel. Film looks so good. I like digital cameras when there's like a director that can do something with it. I don't know if Burton's the guy that can do something with it. Not to say that this looks bad or it's poorly directed or the cinematography is bad. I just like, these effects would look so much better if there's some like film grain behind this, you know? Just something a little bit different than the digital era. Because if we're going to go like classic, go all the way classic. I don't know. You want this to be Top Gun Maverick? Well, treat it like it's a big legacy sequel blockbuster bullshit. I mean, the opening weekend's doing great. People like this apparently, which surprised the hell out of me. I didn't realize Beetlejuice had this many fans. Do people like him? I don't know anybody under 25 that gives a shit. So is this like going to see Tom Cruise's Maverick again? Seeing the juice back? I don't know. It makes no sense to me. It's a sequel to the Beetlejuice movie. Some of the cast is returning. Not Alec Baldwin or Gina Davis. But there's also a key cast member in that original film who played Lydia's dad, the husband to Catherine O'Hara. We're not going to name his name because he's a very bad man who did very bad stuff and is in jail and should be in jail. But we are talking about a franchise that involves the afterlife and death in a huge way. So even when you kill that character off, which is what this movie does, you have to address it, I guess. I cannot explain why this movie spends so much time explaining and giving you actual physical presence of the terrible actor guy. We're talking about a convicted felon here, but we show his face through pictures and stop motion animation more than once. We have a physical body for that guy that is represented on film. Could you have just easily not said anything and people be like, yeah, of course we're not going to touch upon that. That guy's bad. Yeah, you could have easily have done that and it would have been just as fine. But they spent a lot of time explaining that. And it is so annoying. And you're just like, you really didn't have to touch upon it. We get it. It's been 36 years. We are aware that this guy's bad news. Don't bring it up. But they do. So that's like a weird thing to do. Don't know why that happened. I will give this movie credit for some stuff. Like, I think how it handles the evolution of these characters is pretty interesting. Like, Lydia, I guess, is like a fan favorite character and people grew up idolizing her. I like Lydia. Like, she was fun in that movie. So her becoming like the person she does in this feels kind of weird, but then you realize like there's some manipulation going on behind the scenes towards her. You're like, I guess that makes more sense. I like Winona Ryder. You know, movies used to have Winona Ryder in them. I think people still like her. I think like the younger generation likes Stranger Things, so they like her for that. It does feel like this character's kind of been trapped in like an Arrested Development where she's never really been allowed to like grow up or do anything. Is there a reason she still dresses the same? Is there really one? It doesn't feel like there is one. Just so you know, it's Lydia. I don't know. It seemed very strange. She has a daughter played by Jenna Ortega, who is probably like my least interesting part of this movie. I don't think this character was needed or necessary. But if you want to get younger people in, she's like Sydney Sweeney for goth people, I guess. I don't know. I have problems with some of the young actors we're trying to prop up of the next crop of like movie stars. Jenna Ortega has this innate energy as someone I think is very likable off screen. I like her energy. I like how she talks about filmmaking process and movies themselves. On screen, she is a wet blanket and I don't like anything she is doing, and it really feels because nobody knows how to write her as a real character and they want her to be perceived a certain way. This is like the second Tim Burton project she's been a part of where I think she's been given bad material to play like this specific character. I really don't like what she does, and her story's kind of boring, and she makes a lot of stupid mistakes and doesn't learn anything, and there's artificial conflict between her and her mother and other people in her life, all because she's different and doesn't like talking about people. It makes no sense. I don't really enjoy it. What I do enjoy is Catherine O'Hara, who clearly is having the time of her life, which makes sense. I feel like she is one of the names you bring back that would do this, because she's kind of had her resurgence, and she's having fun. She's like, I am probably not going to do a lot more of these. So sure, I'll be like a weird art lady again. She was great. She was very lovable and fun. I don't hate any of the performances except for maybe Ortega. And after a minute, I just couldn't really get why we have Monica Bellucci in here, but we'll get to that in a minute. She was clearly having the most fun. I think O'Hara's the strong suit of this movie, and so is Willem Dafoe. A character whose introduction opens up a whole new bag of questions to what the underworld is. But just two actors in their 70s just enjoying themselves. I'm like, yeah, this is what we're doing here. So that's cool. If you think for a minute this movie's not going to make references to the old movie, you're wrong. Don't worry. We'll have people singing still that aren't really singing and doing dances and stuff. We'll have people say lines and stuff from the original. We'll go to all the key locations. We'll see people you're familiar with. Don't worry. It is a Lego sequel, so you're going to see the things you know. That's cool. So yeah, let's just get into it. This movie has the two biggest cast members from the original Beetlejuice. Winona Ryder, she's really fun. I wish she dressed differently. I like her in movies. I wish she got to do more in this because it feels like she's a lot of exposition and explaining, just the bridge between the two worlds. And yes, Michael Keaton is back as Beetlejuice himself. And I I struggle with this character a lot sometimes. Like, I like it. I think it's a fun, over-the-top, cartoony performance that an actor really wants to sink their teeth into. I think Beetlejuice is becoming more of Keaton's role than Batman ever was. Last year he did Batman. People were like, whatever. This year he's doing Beetlejuice. I think it's going to respond well to like all audiences in a bigger way. He's clearly enjoying himself. The jokes he is given feel really good, and that's kind of a cool thing to see. There's actually like a couple of like sight gags with him that I truly enjoy. So this movie, light spoilers, kind of gives us the backstory to Beetlejuice. It is so funny. This is like my favorite sequence of the movie because he's like, settle in, Bob, I'm going to explain to you my backstory. And then like a microphone falls from the ceiling. His voice goes Spanish and a Spanish actor takes over. And we do like a classic, like old school, like 50s, 40s Hollywood black and white noir story set in like the Mexican desert of like this conquistador and this woman he fell in love with. It was incredible. And I'm like, that is the visual gags I want to see from Beetlejuice. That's really funny. And all the gags of just people who are dead looking like a thing. It looks good, but that's where I'm having fun. I'm like, those are the jokes you should be making, because that feels lighthearted and campy and silly. And then the other jokes or the other storylines, and there's a lot of freaking storylines. We spend a lot of time with every character. They all have their own storyline going on. There's like 5 separate storylines. Some of them go nowhere, but it should just be the easy story. Like, this young girl doesn't believe that there's like ghosts or an afterlife. She learns there's one, gets lost in it. We don't need the complicated bullshit that leads her to uncover these things or have a connection to somebody who's dead and in like this other connection. And the fact that your mom's Lydia should be enough to have you do things, but you really want to separate the two characters and have it be less about like a mother and daughter pairing and more about like, ooh, it's like an angsty teen drama sometimes. Like, no. We want it to be cartoony. Lydia is the bridge between the real world and the cartoon world. Use that dynamic more. And you don't. You just don't. Justin Theroux's in here. It's a fun performance. I don't really care for anything else about it. And I guess going back to like the underworld of Beetlejuice is exciting. They have some good jokes from like people that are dead, but the storylines go all over the place. There's a side storyline of Monica Bellucci that I know why she's in the movie, because Tim Burton is dating her, which is a weird thing to say, but he is. It is really pointless and doesn't really add anything, but it's there. And I guess it's so, I don't know why. I was going to try to come up with like an artificial reason why it's there. I have none. She's hot. Tim Burton's dating her. Good for him. This movie does do another thing I really enjoy, and that is just be horny. This movie is horny, okay? Every single male character wants to get in Lydia's pants. And I'm like, I don't understand how Warner Bros. Allowed us to get this sexually explicit. Monica Bellucci, like, sucks men till they're, like, dry. I mean, I'm not describing it well. It's not like she, you know, does that. But, like, she opens her mouth, goes, and sucks men dry. And I'm like, yeah. We're really horny for everybody. Everyone wants to fuck Beetlejuice and everyone wants to fuck Lydia. It's very, very weird. And I'm just kind of impressed that like a movie that's made for all ages, it's PG-13, went this horny, went this hard. And it's another thing we don't see in Hollywood is movies that are horny. Like if you think this movie's not going to have Beetlejuice lusting for Lydia after 30 years, you're utterly wrong. He still has the picture of the teenage girl he fell in love with on his office desk. Very weird concept, but that's what we're working with, folks. That's what we're doing. Utterly strange, but I don't hate it. You know, like it's silly, it's having fun. Certainly aware of what it's doing. And if everyone involved is enjoying themselves, fine. You know. But I guess the question is, now that the juice is loose, how much juice is left in the tank, and do we want to see more of it? Or should this just be like a one and done and don't even attempt it ever anymore? That's what I'd hope, but I can't see Hollywood taking that lesson. Silly movie. I mean, there are worse things in theaters right now. I liked a lot of the visual jokes. I liked the aesthetic of the thing. It would look better if it wasn't on a digital camera and didn't try to make itself too modern. But we have to let you know that time has passed. Like 30 years have passed. So there's going to be cell phone jokes, I guess. Very mixed. Feels like it kind of hates itself for existing, but it's also very proud of itself for existing and being creative, which is like the Beetlejuice model, I guess. Like, you're a monster that's decrepit and annoying, but you're also fun, lighthearted, and ready to blow anyone who comes your way. So that's good. That's good, right? I don't know. As long as Michael Keaton gets his paycheck, he doesn't give a shit, you know? So why should I? Why should I care about this movie when he doesn't? Nobody does. Like, Tim Burton's making movies again. If anything, that's the win, I guess. So, Beetlejuice. Setting up for a third one there, right? I'm going to give this film a 7 out of 10. Now, thank you all for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And of course, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.